Eyeball to eyeball. I think the other fellow just blinked.
Let me say something to you, Mr. Ambassador. We do have the evidence. We have it, and it is clear and incontrovertible. And let me say something else. Those weapons must be taken out of Cuba. You, the Soviet Union, have created this new danger, not the United States. Mr. Zorin, I remind you the other day you did not deny the existence of these weapons. But today, again, if I heard you correctly, you now say they do not exist. Or we have not proved they exist. All right, sir. Let me ask you one simple question. Do you, Ambassador Zorin, deny that the USSR has placed or is placing medium and intermediate range missiles and sites in Cuba? Yes or no? Don't wait for the translation. Yes or no?
I am not in an American courtroom, sir, and therefore I do not wish to answer a question which is put to me in a fashion in which prosecutors put questions. In due course, sir, you will have your answer.
We are in the courtroom of world opinion right now, and you can answer yes or no. You have denied they exist. I want to know whether I've understood you correctly.
Continue with your statement. You will have your answer in due course.
I am prepared to wait for my answer until hell freezes over, if that's your decision. I am also prepared to present the evidence in this room now. We know the facts, and so do you, sir, and we are prepared to talk about them. Our job is not to score debating points. Our job, Mr. Zorin here, is to save the peace. And if you are ready to try, we are.
I'm just a newsman, right? So how do you expect me to believe that you, who, let's face it, you're well known as the KGB station head in Washington, are actually telling me, about a deal, right?
Correct.
Now, wait a minute. A deal between Moscow and the United States? Alex, what the hell are you saying to me?
I'm saying to you that you may indicate to the State Department that we propose settlement on 3 points. The sites will be dismantled and sent back to the Soviet Union under the United Nations supervision. Castro will pledge himself to accept no further missiles. The United States will agree never to invade Cuba.
And what do I do, Alex?
Tell the State Department they will find Mr. Zorin will talk to Mr. Stevenson. Pass it on.
You mind eating alone?
You realize that Foreman is head of the KGB station here.
I do.
Okay. And this is a risk. You go back to him. You say the United States government sees real possibilities in this, that the matter could be worked out with Utan. Tell him the time is very short. Odd, isn't it? Here we are, writing history with the KGB.
How high does it come from?
Very.
Are you perfectly sure?
Yes.
I'll pass it on.
To, where? Exactly.
Moscow.
Now, it would appear from this letter that Khrushchev is saying that he will not dispatch any more missiles to Cuba, and that he will remove the ones that are already there if and when the United States agrees not to launch an attack on Cuba. Is that the way you would interpret this?
Yes, sir. Exactly. It's much the same as what Foreman proposed.
But at least now they've admitted the missiles are there.
Yes, so we are making some progress. All right. Let's find out if Khrushchev really wrote this himself, and when that's confirmed, draft a reply for my consideration.
Very well.
We'll see what happens next. Why don't those of you that can try to get some sleep, and we'll see you in the morning. Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.
Why this second letter in the middle of the night?
Why does he contradict himself?
Doesn't even have Khrushchev's style.
Ambassador Thompson, is it possible that Chairman Khrushchev could have been overthrown?
I doubt that, Mr. President. It can only be a supposition. But I think it probable that the back corridor exchanges at the UN about a Cuba-Turkey deal have persuaded the Kremlin to hold fast for precisely that.
I will not betray our NATO responsibilities by trading off any missiles anywhere. I once gave instructions for the removal of those missiles from Turkey, and for some unknown reason, they are still there. If they were not, the Soviets would not be in a position now to try and barter them. Kenny, I want to know why. I really want to know why those missiles were never taken out of Turkey. I want to know when I initiate that instruction. I think it was this past August, wasn't it?
I don't know, Mr.
I think it was. Find out, Kenny.
Yes, sir.
Pull out all the files from the National Security Council if you have to and report back to me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Kenny. So, which one of Khrushchev's letters do we deal with?
The first. Let's just ignore the second.
What do you mean, ignore the second?
No, just ignore it. No, let's not lose the moment. Now, he's made us an offer in the first letter that we all agreed that we can live with. So what's all this talk about making side deals and reducing NATO power in the second? To hell with it. Let's go for broke on the first.
Could be onto something, Bob, but you don't agree with any of the draft replies.
No, not one of them.
All right, then. You draft your own reply and accept Foreman's offer, too. Take Ted with you. You better be quick about it because we're running out of time.
All right, fine.
How soon before the airstrike's ready?
30 hours.
Thank you, Mrs. Lincoln.
Attacking a Soviet ship is preferable to bombing a missile site. Casualties in a missile bombing could reach 50,000.
The U-2 has overflown the Chuhut Peninsula. Soviet fighter planes are scrambled, and ours are in the air to try and get a hold of the U-2. The thing has begun. Why is there always someone, somewhere, who does not get the word and jumps the gun? My God. Thank you. After I had sent an urgent message to Premier Khrushchev explaining that our U-2 that strayed over the Chuhut Peninsula was not an act of provocation, the chairman responded by allowing our planes to escort it out of the area. In the meantime, however, Soviet forces have fired on a U-2 over Cuba. The pilot and plane are lost there. I have also received a report from the FBI that Soviet diplomats are preparing for the destruction of their papers, and that's where we stand at the moment.
May I, Mr. President, while at once conveying my regret and sadness, state that we have discussed such an eventuality. We have to retaliate.
Would that be the view of the Joint Chiefs?
Sir, the Joint Chiefs have persistently maintained the blockade to be a feeble response. A substantial attack on the sites will show the Russians your firmness of purpose.
Well, I am more concerned with what will happen after we retaliate.
The military, Mr. President, are concerned about what will happen if we do not. This cannot be allowed to continue.
I understand, and I appreciate how the military feel, but I also feel and know that a retaliatory action at this point will bring about massive destruction and death. We will continue to negotiate to state our position. At this very moment, the Attorney General is meeting once again personally with Ambassador Dobrinin, and I am not yet prepared to abandon my efforts for a peaceful solution. The other option is appalling to contemplate. You may be sure that if and when that time comes, however, I will not back away from it. I hardly need to remind any of you that that time is very near. Thank you. Lyndon. You were nodding your head. Why?
Why are we waiting?
What do you mean?
It's too damn late to negotiate.
Is that what you think?
That's what the Joint Chiefs think.
Who? Which ones?
Anderson, LeMay, Shoup. I know. Doesn't Bob tell you?
Lyndon is very unhappy, Bob.
No more unhappy than the rest of us, I hope.
Everyone's unhappy, Bob.
Why don't you come up with some ideas of your own?
I haven't been asked.
Don't wait to be asked. If you think you have a solution, then state it and let everyone else know as well. Don't just sit here, for God's sakes, nodding your head and pulling your ear. Thank God his finger isn't on the trigger. Bob, would you please give me the name and address of the U-2 pilot and his widow?
Yes.
Thank you.
I am here to warn you, to warn Chairman Khrushchev, that you have no more time.
You ask, your brother asked?
President Kennedy asked.
The president asked that we will cease work on Soviet bases. He is giving orders to the Soviet Union?
He demands this. He demands that they be removed under United Nations observation.
He is an American.
Why do you insist on stating the obvious?
We are committed. The Soviet government is committed. That means we must reject your brother's terms.
The president's demands.
I do not think they are reasonable.
Look, I want an immediate reply.
I would advise patience.
It's run out. Now, I must inform you that the United States is ready to take military action against the bases. We are fully prepared for war. Now, we are aware of the consequences. But I'm beginning to think that you are not. That the Kremlin is not. That Chairman Khrushchev is not. That the Soviet people are not. So I think that you ought to call your people and inform them before it is too late.
Threats are unacceptable.
Are they? All right, then consider them the warning that President Kennedy is giving you.
Warning?
He is saying, and let there be no doubt of it, that the Soviet Union can now preserve itself, or it can unleash forces that will destroy the world. Now, there it is, Mr. Ambassador. That terrible and final reality, which ought to be unacceptable not only to you, but to mankind. You are completely alone. Now, can I tell you, as one human being to another, that I believe that you are about to make the most important